Hey, what's going on there, PodcastPD people? You have tuned into the recording of episode 147 of PodcastPD. If you're joining us on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, please join in the conversation. Join in the conversation in the chat. Let us know where you are checking in from. And yeah, this is the part that gets cut out of the podcast part of the show. All right. You ready, buddy? Good. It's a very good thing.
I'm so ready. Yay, education.
Yay, education. I just want to give you a heads up. I'm actually going to play our music and we will not be muted and people will be able to see us. So if you want to dance to the music, feel free.
Wow. I always dance to music and I'm not going to dance to music now.
All right, here we go. There we go. Coming up on episode 147 of Podcast PD, AJ and I are going to talk about how we can inspire students, address hate symbols in schools, and we're going to talk about what you do when students refuse to do work. If you couldn't tell, I dug down the rabbit hole of Reddit. Let's start the show. This is Podcast PD, the show that provides you with anytime, anywhere professional development. Our conversations and guests will provide you with the learning you might get in a faculty meeting or on a PD day. Except you're going to have more fun with AJ Bianco and me, Chris Nesi. Let's start the show. What is going on, Podcast PD? We're back. It's our first episode of 2025. The last time we spoke to everybody who listens to the show was November. I'm Chris, at Mr. Nesi on Blue Sky, and I'm joined, as always, by the podcast paisano, AJ Bianco. What's up, buddy?
We haven't met since November? That's like forever ago.
It is.
It's a long time ago.
Well, I tried to do a all call to our listening audience.
You sure did.
Much as we love them, they did not come through in the slightest to submit their favorite podcast. So
'tis the holiday season. People get busy and put everything else on the back burner. I get that.
Yeah, so no December show, and we're just a week overdue to do our one for January. But we had some things come up last week.
My bad.
I wasn't going to call you out, but there you go. Thanks, buddy.
It's on me.
It's okay.
We're all good.
But we're all good.
We're all ready to go. I was not feeling too great. We're back and back. We bounced back.
There you go. Hey, let me see that sweatshirt.
It's almost baseball season.
I know. We're less than 50 days away from opening day.
It's like 3 weeks.
Un salami.
Like 3 weeks to me. Like this is the best season.
Yes, the in-between season.
Podcast again. We should do that.
We should do a baseball podcast together?
You got to be honest. Baseball is just more fun. Yeah, baseball is just more fun than education right now.
All right. You can come on the show. We got that little baseball podcast going. You can come back.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I'd love to.
We had a good run there during the playoffs.
Friday nights.
We were doing those.
We did. That was fun. That was fun. Yeah.
But it's time to turn the page.
Nobody cares about baseball but us.
Yeah. Nobody cares. If you're a listener, if you're listening to the show and you like baseball, hit us up. Because let's be honest.
Like honestly.
Yeah. Coming soon, Podcast PD.
Hit us up. Let's talk baseball. You don't have to listen to education. There you go. Baseball ED.
Baseball. Oh my God. 8 years ago, I'm sure that could have been a thing. Anyway, I am going to have to get on my soapbox a little later. I could do it now. I could do it later, but I got some education things to get off my chest.
You know what? Let's do it now.
Let's do it now. Okay. I have two things to get off my chest. All right. Number one, this relates to an education podcast that I'm not going to name, which I'm sorry. I know that when I hear people talk about stuff and they don't give me the specifics, I get really aggravated. But I don't want to give this person or their podcast the legitimate time of day because it just makes me want to throw up. So there's a person out there who has a relatively new education podcast, and this podcast is basically built by using Google LM, where they are taking what I will take the leap of faith and say that the blog posts that they are putting on their website are then being fed into Google LM. So you get that male Google voice and that lady Google voice, and that's the podcast content. The actual person does a little thing at the beginning of the show and then turns it over to these two artificial intelligent voices. And here's my problem. The human behind all of this is not disclosing it.
Oh,
it's not mentioned
bold.
Like, hey, this is how I'm doing this. And then you listen to it. And again, if you've ever played with the Google LM stuff, it sounds pretty good. It gets better all the time, but you've got to disclose that and don't try to pass it off as two people having a conversation about education. And I went through the first, couple episodes at fast speed just to be like, before I say something publicly, is this person actually not disclosing it? And they're not.
Not even like episode 1?
Nope. Nothing. No disclosure about the fact that it's being built using AI. And I mean, this might give it away. So if you're a super sleuth on the internet, the term real talk is in the title of this podcast. And it's not. So as someone who's been podcasting this is year 11 now, right, that I'm in, it's super insulting. And I think it's disrespectful to people who create podcast content. And I think it's disrespectful to the listener. So if you're going to use AI to do stuff, you got to disclose it.
So is this person, so I know this, I know it's not software. I know the tool.
Yeah.
I guess what it comes down to is this person like creating an entire script and then allowing the computer to read it, or are they just like typing in a point of interest and just letting Google do what they do and record it?
No. So the way I understand, and I've played with this and I fed it stuff. So the way Google LM works is you add stuff to it. So you can link to stuff. You could upload a PDF. You could add text. So I believe that this person, based on what the AI is saying and the quote unquote conversation that it's having with itself, it's referencing a blog post on this entity's website. And and you could tell there's not even a lot of editing done, because if you listen to, I'll call them Ted and Sheila. If you listen to Ted and Sheila from Google LM do this, it sounds like they're looking at the content for the first time. And you get that reset in every episode of the show. And I listened to like the first 5. And there was at one point where the male voice talks about itself being a teacher and having experienced what the topic of the episode or the blog post is about. So I just think it's really, really blah.
Yeah.
And I did call this person out on social media, and I went right out.
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that.
Then
Good
we're
for you.
on the same page.
Did they respond? Did that person respond?
Nope. Did not respond.
Of course not.
Of course not.
How many episodes deep are they?
I think it was 5 on the initial launch, and then we're a couple weeks past that. So 7, 8, something like that.
So still going strong, huh?
Going strong.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what, they got a 1-star rating on Spotify. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Of course.
So
I think it's just funny, like if they want to be a guest on somebody else's show, hey, bring your co-hosts on. Oh, there are no co-hosts. That's just Google.
And then this person, because now you know who I know that we know who this person is. They, in the intro,
I don't know who the person is, so I'm curious who it is.
I'll tell you off the air. When you go, when this person is tossing it over to the AI voice part of the show, they are simply just saying, all right, let's go over to the conversation by them. It's like, come on.
Is this somebody like, and I don't know, is somebody like we have well respected in the past,
It's somebody who, until this point,
or at least held in high regard?
I don't know if I held them in high regard, but I certainly knew who they were or are. When we're done, I'll give you, I'll tell you.
Oh, can you just text me?
I can't.
Well, I want to look it up. All right. Let's get on with our episode then. So we can.
That was only the first thing I wanted to rant about.
Oh, right. That was one. Number two.
Okay. This also relates to podcasting, and it also relates to AI. I'm on a tear today. Here you go.
Are.
Now, this one, also going to be very general, but I will say this. If you're going to, at times, speak out against AI in education, don't take a company's money as a sponsor for your content. I'm going to say that's about all I'll say.
Okay.
If you're going to create content and at times on different forums speak out against AI in education, don't take an AI education company's money to support your content creation.
That's okay.
That one popped up at me over the weekend here.
Another one I'm curious about. Okay, we'll talk about that one.
We'll talk about that one too.
Yeah, I don't have as many gripes as you with this stuff. I just want education to get better because I'm not happy with it.
All right, your turn.
I don't like education right now.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Maybe a future episode, a more fleshed out conversation.
Yes, a future episode where I have my thoughts in order. We can give the why AJ hates education episode.
Sounds like a good working title.
I don't know. It's just not where it needs to be. And I don't know if it's post-pandemic. Yeah. That's the hard part. It's just is it post-pandemic learning? Is it the students? Is it how we work as a society? I'm not just saying teachers. Is it like the combination of society and the belief of education and the emphasis on teaching and learning? And is education still relevant today? There's just a lot in my mind. If that makes sense.
I know we're going to flesh out. We'll come up with a more detailed conversation, but to your initial thought, I will say education, the way we experienced it, is not relevant. And education, the way it currently is broken. And I don't know that you and I are going to figure it out, but hey, we have a platform and maybe we can start that conversation.
And I'm curious.
Or contribute to it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think that's definitely a conversation with guests. I don't think it's something that you and I can just spew back and forth, because I think we are similar minded in some regard. But like one thing I continuously wonder is, and you know this better because you have the student teacher, what is the direction that we're going? Do people still even like go to school to want to be teachers? I look at a local organization here who had an aspiring leadership academy, or actually aspiring teaching academy, not even just leadership. And there were people there, which is great. So colleges are still putting people out there, but it's just, I really wonder.
All right. Could be February, could be March. We will wonder. We'll get the right people in place and we'll figure out what that conversation looks like.
Yeah. This is something definitely we're going to work on.
Oh yeah. All right. So our topic tonight, AJ, as I teased at the beginning of the episode, relates to going down the Reddit rabbit hole. Are you ready for topic number 1?
Number 1.
Here we go. From Reddit. The title of this post is How Do You Inspire Students Today? We might get into this conversation a lot quicker than you think. Here we
I
go.
guess so.
This person says, I am a high school teacher pushing 20 years of experience. I taught middle school for a while as well. Over the past few years, especially since the pandemic and the proliferation of social media and attention-sucking apps, it feels harder to get students interested and excited in the material. Though I've been teaching for a long time, I have certainly changed with the times. I'm tech savvy, and I've updated my curriculum to stay current and relevant. Still, it seems harder than it did a few years ago to get students really inspired. They're just less engaged overall. Do you feel this? Have you changed how you inspire kids today?
This is stuff. I'm looking at it from two different point of views here, right? Unfortunately, I'm not going to take it from the classroom because I'm not there, but I'll share something about that. I'm looking at it as dad and building leader, right? I don't think the age group, the middle school age group, I don't think it's easy to inspire them, right? I don't think we in schools can offer what they get. And again, maybe this is like what I was saying before. This is post-pandemic, right? The devices have taken a hold on them. Their thought process is what's going on around them. How can they get their device in their hand faster? What are they going to do after school? Who are they going to hang out with? What game are they able to play? We can't compete with what's in their pocket. You know, a lot of people don't like that we're having kids put phones in their lockers. Oh, it's a safety concern, blah, blah, blah. But you know how many times that phone is buzzing? I'm guilty of it. I'm sure there's many people out there who are listening who are guilty of it. Once that phone buzzes, you're so curious. Was that a buzz? Is that a long buzz? Is that a phone call? Like, do I need to check that? Is that an email? I'm waiting for an email. Like, constantly looking for a way out. And in our distracted generation of learners and educators, I don't think we can offer what the students want. And that's the hardest part. So it's going to be very difficult to inspire the generation of learning that we have now.
I don't think it's happening at wide a scale as it used to. I think there are still students that are inspired in school, that are focused, and they do want to achieve success and they want to be successful. And, obviously I come at it from that of a high school teacher. And, at my school, I certainly see my fair share of apathy and students who, working with ninth graders this year, I've got students who, now we're halfway through the year as we were having this conversation, that failed the first marking period, failed the second marking period, and we don't have midterms or finals, so it's the 4 marking periods that will average together. And when I go back to school here in February, I've got to have some conversations with kids about, you're in jeopardy of repeating this course, right? In New Jersey, you've got to take world history, US 1, US 2. I've got world history. And, I don't think for a lot of these kids, they realize that the classes at the high school level count and that you're not going to just be pushed along, and you've got to meet the state requirements to pass classes, earn credits. And, I from talking to colleagues in my school and other places, you have students today that go into high school that did not pass 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And, somewhere in that 3 years, they should have been held back. And that's not really a thing anymore. They just get pushed along. And then, you talk to a math teacher at the high school level, you get students who come in, and this is just a math example, who don't have the foundational math skills to do algebra 1 or move to geometry. And then you're going to look at your math teachers and say, well, what are you doing? Like, why aren't kids being successful on state assessments? And I remember when I was becoming a teacher, I was warned to not fall into the trap of teaching high school and blaming the middle school, and then middle school teachers who blame the elementary school teachers, and elementary school teachers who blame the parents. Well, I think the reality is, in some instances, you have to look back at where they were, and there is blame to place.
There's blame all over the place these days.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem. Look, as dad, it starts in the home, right?
Yes.
If we're just trusting that the quote unquote game they're playing to learn to read is appropriate, and they're only focused on that, like we're not doing justice to our kids' learning.
Not at all.
Right? If we're not reading to them at night, we're not helping them.
Or they need to see us read too, not just reading
right.
to them. Just, hey,
right.
We're all going to put our devices down. We're all going to read a little bit.
This has been an ongoing practice in our house since all the kids have a reading log they have to do. We take the time and we read before bed, and I got my book and the kids got their book, and we spend a little time, 20 minutes, read 20 minutes. I think that's really important, but like there's a lot of blame going around because we're having a hard time inspiring learning. We're having a hard time getting kids motivated to learn. We're having a hard time teaching kids to learn. And we're having a hard time wanting to do the things that we have to do. I don't think testing helps at all. And I'm sure that is definitely something that knocks our kids out of the game, because they're learning this for what? Is it to learn it to do something else with it, or is it learn it so they can do well on the test? And that's what it's been the last 5 years.
I think that's what it's been all along with standardized tests. It's never been.
But even more so, everything is data, and now it's really, really based on what the kids are doing.
No, I get that, and I mean we talk about data-driven instruction, and the next time somebody shows me standardized test results to inform my instruction, it'll be the first time somebody shows me data that's going to help me do something different in my classroom.
Right.
So
yeah. So to answer the question, how do we, are you finding it? I'm sure you are. And I think the only way that we can get kids to actually be motivated about learning is to really give them choice. And that's changing the entire structure of school.
Well,
that's
I got to push back on that a little bit. So my classroom, again, project-based history classroom, no traditional test, quizzes, or homework, right? Talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
And when I come up with projects, I don't necessarily tell the kids, oh, this is a choice board, but I will come up with multiple options and different avenues for them to pursue information and develop skills and everything, and kind of go through some stuff. They don't care about choice. In my experience now in the last couple of years, they're more than content to do nothing. Nothing, AJ, nothing.
Right. Well, when I'm saying choice, I'm not even talking about like choice boards and personalized learning anymore. Like I'm way past that in my mind. I mean like choice as to what do you want to learn? Like that when I say choice, I am now talking about like like a registrar. Here are the classes that we're going to offer for freshmen.
But you're almost
what do you want to take?
That you're looking at changing the
entire structure of education.
Right. But here's the issue with that. And I'm with you. Like, I think we probably talked about this maybe a couple of years ago, where we were
of course
talking about like a little kid in elementary school who says, I want to be a fireman. And K through 12 does nothing to inspire or prepare that child to pursue that goal.
Nope.
Right? It's the buffet. It's the, well-rounded education. And
can we stop for 1 second? Let's stop for 1 second. Like, think about this real quick. I love baseball. You love baseball. We love sports, right? My dream was to play baseball. And if it wasn't going to be play baseball, it was to do something in sports, right? This is back in the day when all I did was watch Sports Center and listen to sports and play sports and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Very quickly, I knew I wasn't going to play for the Yankees. Teaching was my backup, right? Quote unquote backup. But what I really wanted to do was to do something in sports, whether announcing or writing or anything. You know what everybody said to me?
What'd they say?
That's a really hard field to get into. You know what, Chris? In 2025, it's not.
No.
In 2025, if this was AJ Bianco at 18, I was fine. I would have found a way to make a name for myself instead of the little things I was doing to be quote unquote on the radio or you know, announcing things at games. Like,
right. You would have been probably
you could have
hosting,
blogged,
you would have been
podcasts.
podcasting.
Like,
You would have been going
come
live on
on.
TikTok or Instagram and like talking sports, or you'd be doing it.
Like, I love a radio personality in New York whose name is Keith McPherson and how he
Love
got to the
Keith.
spot he's at right now.
Yes.
Like, this guy has done nothing. He has gone totally behind the scenes to become one of the best of
Yes.
New York sports right now.
And as you were telling your story, I was thinking Keith is the 2025 version of
2025 version. Right. Dude's in his 20s, living life right now, loving it. And this is what I tell the kids. Like, if you want something, this is the path to do it. You have the easiest route. But guess what? In school, sitting there, please write an essay. Please complete this problem. Like, crushed. I don't want to do that. Crushed.
Yeah. I mean, I again, in my classroom, I try to focus on skills. I've talked about the 4 C's before: create, communicate, collaborate, critical think. Using history as the vehicle to try and get kids to further develop those 4 skills that they walk into my classroom and they already have. But how can they develop those skills? Yeah. But I mean, I have students this year who I can look them in the eye, talk to them kindly, gently, good morning, how are you? And I will not get a response. I don't know.
I used to count the numbers when kids got off the bus at the middle school. I'd say, good morning. Just good morning. Not even like a hello back. I would count. 4 buses worth of kids. That's almost 200. It's a little more than 200 kids that will come off those buses. Maybe 20. Maybe.
Yeah. But those are social skills.
Yeah.
Right? I try to do group projects where you're working with a partner or a small group. And at the beginning of the year, it's a struggle. When I try to make the groups, AJ, I have had in a class 3 students who have literally completed no projects this year in my class because they outright, I can't say refuse because I can't say it's refusing. They haven't spoken a word to other students in the room. And then on the last day, or I could see it, a kid, hey, Mr. Nesi, can I just do like a third of this by myself? Can I do half of it just by myself? And I'm like, yeah, at this point, yeah, go ahead. Just do a little piece. Give me something. You care. Go ahead. You do a piece.
These are the students we have now. This is what we're working with.
But you know what? I will show up every day, and I show up every day, and I try. But it's to a point where I might tell students tomorrow on the first real day of the 3rd marking period, look, I'm done caring more than you do.
Ooh.
I will match you for how much you care. And that's a bad spot to be in for them and for me.
Yeah, right. Right.
And I don't know if I'm wrong for feeling that way, but that's how I feel.
You're allowed to feel the way you want to feel.
I had put together some ways that educators can inspire students, But as we were talking and I'm looking at these 6 things, it's all garbage. I don't
I love
know. I don't have the answer of how you can inspire students other than show up and try. You can lead a
Give
horse
'em-
to water. You can't
right.
make them drink.
Give them choice. Make it more real. Make it more relevant to what they want to do. Like I don't even know anymore. That's why I'm telling you from the jump. That's why I'm saying education needs to change. I am not high on education right now.
Education's a buzzkill.
I don't know if I would have felt this way if I was still in the classroom. I might have, because I would see things differently. But
Well, do you think your what you believe right now or what you feel is influenced by the fact that you are not in the classroom and you are an administrator? And you're not in the classrooms each and every day?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd still feel this way.
Okay.
Because I think the students are changing in the way we're attacking education. Not attacking like how we're doing in society, but just the way we're kind of like doing education.
Look, I always hate to go back to the pandemic, but again, something we've talked about here before is when we were in the pandemic, and I went back over our little hiatus here in the holiday time.
Yeah.
And I went back and I looked at some of those live streams that we did in March of 2020, April 2020, and where you go back and look at those YouTube videos, the chat is rocking. You've got engagement, people talking and stuff. And a lot of people were saying at that time, however long it was going to be, with remote learning and stuff, that, okay, this is going to be the thing that can really propel education forward. And it's going to be this that can help us reshape everything. And what does it mean to teach? What does it mean to learn? And then we came out of it. And I was one of the people who tried to be loud about it. Don't go back to trying to do things the way you used to do them. And people and education couldn't do that fast enough.
Nope. It was too hard. It was too hard. I had more time. This is why I really feel education needs to change. Like we're not competing with other industries. When you offer a work from home option or less hours or whatever the case may be, we can't do that in schools. We're behind. Even kids are going to be like, I don't want to do this. My parents work from home. I'm so jealous of the people who can walk their kids to school, start their day, and then go pick up their kids later on. I'm jealous of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Going to the office 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not saying that's a job that I want to have. I'm just saying, like, to give that option still to companies is a grab for some people.
Yeah. It's almost like the thing that attracted certain people to education for so many years. Same holidays as the students. Summers off. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
All right. Want to move on to topic number 2?
Yeah, we'll come back to this.
We'll come back. Again, we didn't solve anything, but hey, you're listening to this. What are your thoughts? Email us, feedback@podcastpd.com. Reach out to myself and AJ on Blue Sky. I'm at Mr. Nesi. He's at AJ Bianco. Again, the more and wider the conversations become, the more likely we are to maybe make a dent or figure out ways that we can improve it for the little bubble that we operate in. All right. Next topic. The headline from Reddit is how to deal with hate symbols. Here we go. Welcome to Podcast PD in 2025.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
All right, here we go. For starters, I'm a first-year shop teacher that has a background in industry, not formal education. I knew before I accepted the job that graffiti is something that happens in the shop and that the shop is a difficult environment to keep close tabs on all students all the time. It is something that, for the most part, I've come to accept. But today, I found 8 swastikas drawn around the shop, and that is flat out unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I am shutting down my shop for a week or longer if the message is not getting through, and I'm going to try to educate my students on the horrors of the Nazi regime. My problem is that writing essays, and most importantly, the prompt for an essay, is not my strong suit. I'm looking for research essay prompts that would emphasize that there is no humor in these symbols or the beliefs that they represent. Any help or advice would be much appreciated.
Mm. And you talk about AI right now. I think that's, you put that prompt in there, that you can have a number of things done. You can get the history of the Nazi symbol. You can get the negatives of the Nazi symbol, and then you can have a restorative assignment for a class based on X, Y, and Z. I mean, I think you're talking about AI for education. That's where it starts right there. That guy could have had all 3 things done, like the moment he thought of it.
And maybe this person did. I didn't go deep into
Sure.
the thread, but some of the people that, so one person says, I think I would avoid doing an essay.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe having constructive conversations, building into a, you know, so I don't know that I would go the essay writing route. If I,
I think, sorry, nope, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, you know, if I was a shop teacher, maybe there's a way to use those hands-on skills, depending on the shop work. There might be a way to do some sort of art-based project that is more reflective and, you know, conveys a more positive message than what kids might be think is a joke. Maybe if I was the shop teacher, or my advice would be, go to your school's social studies department. And maybe there's a way to do some sort of collaborative lesson, or by making social studies teachers aware of it, depending on the time of year and what the focus is, it might be appropriate to have a broader lesson about hate symbols, hate speech, and, you know, what's acceptable and what's not in your, not only your school community, but the world that we live in.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a deeper issue too. Like, let me take it from like the building leader point now.
Yeah.
This is like, now the steps have to be put in place, right? So hopefully this person told the principal, if they're doing it right, it's supposed to call the cops, right? Because it's got to get documented. So if you're doing that right there, and then the community is alerted, so now principal of the school or counselor of the school, this now becomes a major school thing. So this is now has gone from like restorative approach to in the classroom to what are our values as a school, and it's a look at what you expect of your students and yourself as people, right? So I think this becomes a how do we respond to this situation as like a collaborative approach from the school as a team, right? It's big. That's big.
Did you ever experience anything with stuff like this in the classroom or here as an administrator? Yep. Yes to all.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Not right now, but in the past, something we had to deal with. Yep. And I got to be honest, because of who I was dealing with, and it was middle school, right? It was, I don't know what that is. I saw it in a video game, so I drew it. And I don't know if the student was being honest or not. But then it became like, social studies teacher AJ, bam, sit down, let's have a conversation. I'll tell you exactly what this is. And it was not like in detail. I was like, did you know it represented this, and this, and this person did that, and then this, and it led to this. And it was like, I didn't know all that. So now you do. Don't do it again.
Here's and it's a classic case of, now that you know better, do better.
Yeah. And here's your 3 days of suspension. Oh, by the way, you're still suspended.
Fair enough. Is there a scenario where the conversation is enough and the punishment or the suspension or detentions, or that's got to happen?
That's got to happen. That's got to happen. Because then that becomes the norm of, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Now you know.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, what I did write down for this was, and we kind of hit on it. So you've got to educate and you've got to foster awareness. So whether that's small group conversations, you've got to educate the students, right? And the angle you also came at it from, thinking as an administrator, you've got to implement and enforce clear policies. So you mentioned what I would describe as a zero tolerance policy. There is no circumstance where it is acceptable, or you've got punishments in place, and that's what's going to happen. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it sounds like you would respond as, maybe this is more you speaking as the principal. The response has to be consistent, and it's got to happen quickly.
Yes, without a doubt. Like, if that happened, it's cameras, it's talking to people around him. It's, this class would be, I guess, interviewed by all parties that could be interviewed,
Okay. So if this happens early in the day, you're going to try and do this that same day.
Yes. Especially if I'm alerted to it.
Right. What steps would you take if, let's say, this teacher came to you, say it either A, happens towards the end of the day, or you're only made aware of it at the end of the day?
That's a great question. That is something we dealt with. We actually go through seating charts and figure out who sits in those areas, and then talk to every student who sat at that table or desk or spot. And then, it takes a lot of time, but you want to,
if you're able to make those IDs, say in the after school time, are you calling home, or are you waiting until those kids come back the next day? What do you do?
It depends how solid it is. If it's like, yeah, no doubt, this is the only student who sat there at this time of the day, and then yes, it was like, something was found. We don't know exactly facts, but here's what we do know. And I will fill you in more once we have that conversation tomorrow in school.
Okay. I've never had to deal with that. Thank goodness.
Lucky.
Mostly it's just body parts and words.
Lucky.
Yeah.
The good old days, I'll call it.
Yeah. All right. So second topic, not as extensive of a conversation, but what are your thoughts? If you have had to deal with this, let us know. Feedback at PodcastPD.com. And let us know on the socials if you've had to deal with this. I would imagine it's similar to what AJ shared with us from his admin and also teacher point of view. And as a classroom teacher, I would certainly make an administrator aware of it and obviously go from there.
And look, if words weren't hard for me, if it's something that you are going to have to deal with, just remember, it's not just a punitive approach to this. It's the teaching. Like, that's what we're in this for. It's helping the students understand. And even if they have beliefs in a different way, it's reasoning and understanding with history. You're not going to change everybody's point of view, but if you can at least get through and explain why that's not an appropriate symbol for this day and age, or any time, get that point across. We don't tolerate hate. The end.
Yeah. Period. Stop. But we're going to keep going with this episode of the show, so we're not stopping. Before we get to our third topic, AJ and I want to ask you if you get value from Podcast PD, from the conversations we have, or when we have great guests. Are we creating quality? Are we creating quality content for you? Well, if you believe we are, you can give back to Podcast PD on a monthly or a yearly basis. You can support by the month, for the whole year, and as a thank you, we will give you the title of executive producer, and all executive producers will receive a Podcast PD executive producer sticker. And if you support us for a year and you want to take that step, we will send you a t-shirt, a mug, a Podcast PD hat, the sticker. And if you'd like to find out more information, you can go to podcastpd.com/executive producer. Don't wait. Head over to podcastpd.com/executive producer and become an executive producer today. Want to give a shout out to our current executive producers, Holly Landez and Stephanie Scrocky. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right, AJ, our final topic tonight down the Reddit rabbit hole. Here we go. Student refuses to do work. I'm a first-year teacher. I have a student who refuses to do tests. He often makes excuses like his feet are tired or the pencil is too heavy. I often have to give tests twice. He isn't scoring well on them because he doesn't do the practice work through the week. He doesn't care if he loses extra recess time or gets extra work. I've tried being excited about it when he does it and rewarding him. I've talked to his parents. Nothing has changed. I was told to retest him if he still doesn't do it the first time and not to count it wrong. I need some advice on what else I could try. He's in first grade.
No, that's not what I was expecting. Stop testing kids in first grade. There's my answer.
For the disenfranchised first grader.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Don't give them tests. What are we testing a first grader on?
A spelling test, maybe?
I don't know. Like, kid can hardly read. They just know they've just learned the alphabet and numbers. They're not reading yet. What are you testing them on?
I don't know. I'm not a first grade teacher, but I'm with you.
Never mind.
Don't give your first graders tests.
Seriously.
Keep learning fun. They'll get beaten down further on in the process.
My God.
I'll go on record.
Dude,
spelling tests
you got me on that one.
Acceptable. You didn't know first grade was coming. Yeah.
I didn't know that was first grade. I was going to be like, oh, this is a middle school kid, no doubt. I started thinking like middle school, like, oh, what are we doing here? First grade. Oh my God. You crushed this kid. The kid. What do you do? Well, don't mark it wrong, I guess, because obviously he's got a struggle. He, she, they, it. I don't even know. You didn't say it was a boy or girl, did you?
It sounds like it's a little boy.
Little boy. No, that makes sense.
But I like the idea of don't give tests. Find other ways to assess your students' knowledge.
There you go. Make it fun, guys. Don't lose them in first grade. Sorry. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have first graders in my school.
Don't you have a first grader at home?
She's in kindergarten. They don't have tests.
Oh. Does she love learning?
Yes. Yes. You know why? She likes the people she's in class with. She gets to read and color and learn fun things.
And she probably doesn't even realize she's learning. But she is.
Right. She is. Test in first grade. Oh my God.
Again, I'll be fair. When I was in first grade, I remember taking spelling tests on Fridays.
So I'm trying to think, like, spelling in first grade is tough though. Like, it's gonna be
that's where you learn it.
It's gonna be quick words, right?
It was always 10 words. We had this book and we worked through the book through the school year, and there was a spelling test every Friday.
What kind of word do you spell? You're not spelling like.
I remember. I'm going back. Here's a first grade memory of Chris Nesi. It had to be springtime. One of the words was measure.
Get out of here.
And the reason I will remember it is because that week, the extra credit word on the spelling test was treasure. And I was one of a couple kids in the class who got it right because I knew how to spell measure. And I then said, oh, I'll just put TR instead of M. And I got the extra credit. 43 years old. And I remember that single extra credit opportunity in my life.
And that's your high point of education.
Yes. And I will always know how to spell measure and treasure.
There you go.
First grade.
First grade. Well, there you go, everybody. There's your evidence. Test the kids as much as possible.
Mr. Podcast over here.
God, how long ago was that?
I don't have a date stamp on it, but I figured I'd hook it up tonight.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's hot.
A long time ago. That's hot. Oh, AJ, that was Al, right?
That was Al.
That was Al. I thought about Al the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Al, you still listening? Send us an email.
That's my gift for you tonight.
I miss that guy. I'm gonna reach out to him. I think
Okay.
I'm gonna find him. You know what? I'm gonna do it right now. LinkedIn. I know he's at my LinkedIn.
There you go.
Al Spiegel. There it is.
Shout out to Al.
Al Spiegel, assistant principal.
Here's again. I mentioned earlier that I went through those pandemic shows, and we were rocking and rolling. We had like 5, 6, 7, 8 people coming through. Next caller, next caller, next caller. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then people went back, and nobody's around on a Sunday night. We've had a few people pop in and watch tonight, but nobody has commented wherever they're watching. So that's okay. We got a good podcast listening base. So if you're listening on the podcast side, send us an email. feedback@podcastpd.com. Just say hello. That's all. Just say hello. Anything else, buddy? You listen to any podcasts lately? You're muted.
I have a recommendation.
AJ has a recommendation. Hold on. I wasn't prepared for this.
I know you weren't.
Here we go. AJ, what is your podcast recommendation here to start our 2025 run?
All right. So this is a podcast from Daniel. So my middle guy gets in my car one day. He goes, "Hey, Dad, can we listen to a podcast?" I was like, "Sure, let's put a podcast on." So I'm about to put it. Goes, No, I don't want one of yours. I was like, "What do you want?" And he tells me the name of this podcast. I'm like, "What is this?" So the name of the podcast is Smash Boom Best. Okay. And it is a debate podcast. And it is a lot of fun. I'm going to be honest with you. We have, because Daniel and I do a lot of driving together to different sports at this moment. And it's, there's some driving, and the episode's about half hour or so. So we can probably get about 2 episodes in every time we go somewhere. So here's, I'm going to read it just as it is, then I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Smash Boom Best is a funny, smart debate show for kids and families. They do other podcasts too. It's from Brains On. So if you know that one, that's where this is from. Every episode takes 2 cool things, smashes them together, and lets you decide which is best. Pikachu versus Mario, lollipops versus popcorn, flamingos versus axolotls, mermaids versus Bigfoot, cats versus dogs, Spider-Man versus Batman, refrigerators versus toilets, Minecraft versus Legos. The list goes on. A star-studded lineup of debaters use facts and passion to make their case, teaching listeners how to defend their opinions along the way. Past debaters include a lot of famous people. Most of these people are Minneapolis-based. And I think some of the best parts are when they have the rebuttal. The rebuttal is a lot of fun. So every show has like the same kind of theme to it. There is a starting point. All right. Then there's the rebuttal. And then there are 3 other like mini games that get played. 2 of them are like improv, and it's a lot of fun. So like one of the episodes that we're listening to right now is parrots versus gorillas. So they're sharing the facts. We are just getting to the point here where they're doing the off-the-cuff comedy. So if you are with your kids and you're looking for a fun podcast, then Smash Boom Best is wonderful. And Chris, you have it up on our screen here. We have listened to so many of these. Ghostbusters versus Jurassic Park. We listened to skateboards versus surfing, or ice skating versus surfing, carrots versus broccoli. We did Monopoly versus Dungeons and Dragons. He went back to some of these, and they have like years worth of podcast episodes here. So like I'm telling you, just dig in, have a little fun with this, and your kids will laugh. We were listening to one We were listening to one. It was a family favorite when we got back in the house because we had to play it for everybody. Sneezes versus farts. Family favorite right there. That was it. A nice bonding experience. There's some interesting facts that go along with that episode. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, the website is smashboom.org. And I think I'm going to make the first episode I listened to, Bluey versus Elmo.
I didn't get to listen to that one. He listened to that one in school. I think this is where it all started.
Okay.
And that was the episode. So I'm like, dude, can we listen to it? He goes, no, I've already heard it. So I missed out on that one.
Well, kudos to that educator for bringing
Yes.
podcasts
Yes.
into the classroom.
I love it.
That's awesome. Great recommendation.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love it. I
Thank you.
love it. All
Cheers.
right.
Enjoy it. Have fun.
So there'll be a link to that in our show notes, which should be a swipe or a tap away, or better yet, go out to podcastpd.com/147. And AJ and I, we will be back at the end of February. I know it's a short month, but we should be back on Sunday, February 23rd to get into some more education podcasting hijinks. Who knows where the mystery machine will take us. Ruh-roh. And next time we record, we'll be that much closer to spring training baseball. And there you go. All right. AJ, great to talk to you as always, my guy.
Always.
I'll see you in a month. I will say this to the listener who says, they only talk when they get on the podcast. We've been texting more lately.
We have.
Yeah, I miss you.
I miss you too.
Can you move
been a
closer
while.
to me? Move closer.
Yeah,
I know you got your house remodeled, but can you move closer?
I was gonna say it's gonna be a little tough. I mean, like, hey, maybe we can figure something out.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'll let the listeners know. There's a lot of times I'm like, it's a Saturday. I'll just go I'll surprise him. I'll go knock on his door. And then I realize it's like 2 hours away.
Right.
He's probably not going to be home when I get there.
Yeah, definitely not home on a Saturday.
We'll
I'll give
figure
you the
something
garage
out, buddy.
code.
There you go. I'll just wait in there. Hi. I'll be like in and out real quick. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Podcast PD. We'll be back at the end of February. Wave goodbye. Say goodbye.
See ya.